Now, look, we gotta get a little bit serious here. Our scene is a small one, right? Relatively, but it is a very welcoming one. However, every once in a while something happens that is a little bit worrying, and this week was like the cherry on top for a problem that's been happening consistently, and I'm talking about Punk. Panda Globo's Punk. If you haven't followed Punk on Twitter for, I don't know, the last couple years, every time Punk loses or something happens at a tournament, he immediately goes to Twitter and, airs out the salt on Twitter. First, it started all the way back with Combo Breaker, and I have the receipts here. There we go. First, it started with Combo Breaker, right? Never again, Punk says, will I come back to Combo Breaker. This is the shittiest tournament ever, every single year. Rick replies with, I'll be happy to sit down and chat with about what inspired this tweet so I can look to improve things. And Punk says, nah, I'm okay. That doesn't look very good, does it? Then we take things over to Evo, where Punk tweeted something such as, whoops, clicked the wrong button, apologies. Imagine rigging the brackets so you play someone, then proceed to not make it to me. Good sheet, Evo. Gotta rig harder next time. That's a hell of an accusation, right? Tournament integrity has been an issue in the past with the fighting game community, but it is not anymore because of how strict things, or because of how loose things were in the past. They are no longer. So that is a very serious accusation and a very damaging accusation if we're going to be honest. The big issue here is Punk is one of the top players, right? It's undeniable. Punk is one of the best players in the world at Street Fighter. We saw him in the top 16s for Grand Blue, and he's been working his ass, or not Grand Blue, I'm sorry, Guilty Gear, and he's been working his ass off for Dragon Ball Fighters. That comes with some responsibilities, right? You're representing the scene. So tweets like that can be very damaging from people looking in the outside in. And also, let's really focus on this. He also has a following. So with the way things are in social media, when you tweet something like this out, you're also sending your followers to harass the subject of those tweets, right? And this has been an issue in the past with Punk, with like very unsavory tweets and very shitty tweets, if I'm being honest. And now it's finally gotten to such a place where players are taking the brunt of it, right? And it's causing people's tournaments to get ruined. We saw this at Versus Fighting, where Punk said, never again will I let someone continue playing after pausing by accident on my combo. Dude wins the game, then starts laughing. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people? Straight dickhead out of DNF, lesson learned. That does sound like a very frustrating thing to be a part of. However, the person replied. The person who accidentally paused. And he said, Versus Fighting is my first major. And I nervously laughed when I accidentally hit the options button in neutral, not mid-combo. And I asked what we should do next. And you said it's cool to play it out. People get mad, so I get you being annoyed about what happened, but please don't lie about me. Afterwards, instead of realizing what the issue is, Punk doubles down and says, you laughed after you won the game, not after the pause. You shouldn't be laughing in general. Was nothing funny at all. To which Noctron replies, it wasn't funny. I told you it was nervous laughter right after. I'm sorry it ended up bothering you so much. I really did not mean anything by it. So this is a big issue now. This is this person's first tournament. They're nervous, and it seems like Punk forgets where he comes from, right? It's easy to let, being on top of the world in Street Fighter V get to your head. I understand that. It's easy to, be, at the top of a scene and kind of forget where you come from. But this is becoming an issue where people are traveling out to their first tournament, and they're getting, harassed on Twitter because of shit like this. That's unacceptable, right? The fighting game scene is one of the most welcoming scenes, I think, in most of esports, right? And the fact that we have one of our top players causing so much disdain on Twitter because of simple mistakes or because of, his own fault, right? Because at the end of the day, if somebody pauses the game, you take the round. So this guy's first tournament, he's nervous as hell. He paused the game, asked what he should do. Punk was the one that made the decision to let it play out. Then after he lost, it's a problem, right? And then saying somebody shouldn't laugh, I think is the shittiest thing you could possibly do. So this in itself is a problem. And it all culminated to this past weekend when this was tweeted out. It gets even worse. Shouldn't have played Strive, literally played against the worst smelling person in history, and was actually impossible to play. FGC got to do better with hygiene. This caused a ton of problems. Why? The person who he played against, which a lot of people corroborated, was not unhygienic. I think that's the best way I can put that. Tweeted out that he got harassed at the tournament by other people because of this. His whole tournament experience completely ruined because Punk is being an asshole. That is unbelievable. So the dude, instead of getting to enjoy the tournament and getting hype, beating Punk, playing the rest of the tournament, he didn't even show up on Sunday. Because people harassed him at the venue. People harassed him on Twitter. That is unfucking acceptable. And it pisses me the hell off. That is unbelievable. And here's the thing that really pisses me off is this dude's sponsored by Panda. Panda, I'm talking to you. Give this kid some media training. You have the resources for it. Give him some media training so this stops happening. He represents you. He represents our scene. And this is not representative of our scene and makes us look extremely shitty. And the fact that this is a reoccurring problem, the fact that other people are getting heavily affected by this, not just tournament organizers anymore, is a big issue. And the fact that nothing's being done really pisses me off. If somebody's going to cause other people to be harassed or harassed other people themselves on Twitter, people who have done less have been suspended from tournaments. And look, you can say Punk didn't harass him. He just posted salty tweets. And Punk's fans were the ones harassing him. At the end of the day, since Punk is such a huge figure in the FGC and Punk has a following, he has to be more responsible. Right? And this is, I think, is a big culmination of being irresponsible on Twitter. You just ruined, somebody spent money. I know Punk maybe doesn't know what this is like anymore because he's been sponsored for so long, but this person probably spent their own money, saved it up, went to see Otaku to have a good time, and their entire weekend was ruined because they got harassed. Both on Twitter by Punk himself and by Punk's following. So to Punk's following, I say, stop it. That's not cool. That's I don't understand what goes through people's minds that they think this is okay. That's awful. Don't do that anymore. I don't care who says what. Do not ruin somebody's weekend because of some trivial shit that turned out to not even be true. To Punk, I really hope you actually learned your lesson. Punk tweeted out earlier this week saying, I didn't want people to start harassing someone over my tweet, which is why I didn't at the person, but I'm really sorry I caused people to go after him and mess up his CEO Otaku. People should never harass anyone, and I'll make sure my salt doesn't turn into someone else getting hate. Look, if this wasn't a reoccurring issue, I think I would be a little more receptive to that apology, which, by the way, he, at least on the tweet, he did not apologize to the person whose weekend he ruined. He just apologized in general, right? Now, whether he apologized to that person in private, if Punk did, then good. If not, there's a problem. At the end of the day, it all comes down to this. Social media is awful. I hate it. And because Punk, you're a figurehead in the FGC, right? You're someone who people turn to when they're learning the game. You're someone who people who aren't even in the FGC look up to as one of the best in the world. you have to be more responsible with your words, because you're not only representing yourself, you're not only representing Panda, you're representing our entire scene. And this is absolutely not representative of our scene. And the fact that nothing's being done about it, as far as we know, is awful. And I really hope that something is done about it shortly. Whether it's Punk actually realizing that there's a problem, or somebody else doing something. Because making people feel unwelcome and making people, like, ruining somebody's experience for a tournament that they paid to go to enjoy, to see friends, to see people they knew, is shitty. So at the end of the day, stop it. Whether Punk's apology is genuine or not, that's between him and whatever deity he, looks up to, if any. We won't know. But yeah, that really, stuff like that really upset me, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be new in this scene. I'm pretty sure everybody else can remember what it's like to be new in this scene. And going to tournaments is not an easy thing when you're new in this scene, right? It's scary, especially if you don't know anybody. Going by yourself is, a terrifying ordeal. So the fact that so every person who's new at a tournament is already in a precarious situation, because if they have a shitty experience, they're no longer in the FGC and they'll never be back. And that's 2 people now who have had shitty experiences at tournaments because of Punk. At the end of the day, be responsible. I think that's all I have to say.